Everyone talks about the sunshine and resort lifestyle in Scottsdale, but almost no one talks about the single mistake that quietly makes people miserable after they move. So in this video, I'm breaking down the 10 hidden mistakes people make when moving to Scottsdale and how to avoid them. You'll see how heat season living changes everything from commute timing to which side of the house gets used the most. How HOA rules, short-term rental policies, and CC&Rs can limit what you can do with your home and your income plan. And the important costs that most people overlook, like utility bills in peak season, irrigation repairs, and the special assessments in some of our premium communities here. I'm Caitlin Bronski, your Scottsdale Relocation and Luxury Real Estate Advisor. I help families and professionals land in the right neighborhood with the right home features that fit their lifestyle. Let's start with number 10. One of the biggest mistakes I see when people move to Scottsdale is assuming that the whole city is just one vibe. So most buyers really start by looking at zip codes or price per square foot. Some go off a friend's recommendation, but then they rarely stop to think about how real life actually works day to day in the area that they choose. Sometimes even short distances along the Loop 101, Shea Boulevard, or Scottsdale Road can start to crawl during a rush hour. So you might find a gorgeous condo in Old Town, only to realize you need a backyard, quieter nights, and less traffic. But let's break down the real structure of Scottsdale. So South Scottsdale and Old Town are vibrant, walkable, and built for entertainment. Central Scottsdale is where you'll find family neighborhoods, easy access to parks, and quick freeway connections. And I like to call Central Scottsdale from about Shea Boulevard to Mayo, which is the stretch of Scottsdale Road, consisting of 85260 and 85254. Then you get into North Scottsdale, where there's a lot of master plans, living communities, golf communities, and HOAs that keep everything beautiful and pristine. In North Scottsdale, it's quiet, it's scenic, but it's also more spread out, and everyday shopping can be a little bit farther from home in certain places. So how do you avoid making this decision and falling into this trap? We'll start with a weekday map of where everyday priorities are going to be, where you work, where school is going to be, where you're going to grocery shop, and then test the commute between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Next, you're going to look a little bit deeper into the neighborhoods that you're considering. So what are the HOA rules? Are there parking restrictions? Are there architectural design standards? Are there limits on rental times? If you're relocating from out of state, maybe consider a short-term rental. And before you make an offer, confirm things like the school district and the attendance zones. Don't just rely on online real estate listings. Make sure that you double check that the open enrollment dates are available. Are you near certain trailheads that you can actually use if hiking is important to you? Can you easily get to your favorite pickleball court or coffee shop? Are you near a hospital that you trust? If you shop by the brand name of Scottsdale alone, you're gonna risk buying into a vibe that might only fit your lifestyle on weekends. So to love living here long-term, you really need to choose the part of Scottsdale that actually fits your everyday life. Number 9 is sun exposure and not paying attention to home orientation. In most places across the country, orientation might barely register in your decision. But here in the Sonoran Desert, it can make or break how livable your home feels. Out-of-state buyers are really the most vulnerable to this mistake. They scroll through the beautiful online listings, they fall in love with the backyard, the view, the pool. When the air is soft, the air is cool. But come late May and September, that same backyard could start to feel like a pizza oven by 3 o'clock. So the builders don't really help in this. Their priority is often, the curb appeal from the street. So they might load up all the windows on the front of the house to make a design that looks good. When you actually live in a house, you have heat that's bleeding into every room when the sun hits it. West-facing West-facing backyards become unbearable in the summers by late afternoon. You think you're buying a sunset view patio, but you end up with space that you can't use until the sun goes down. Homes with large, unshaded west or south-facing windows heat up fast, and sometimes they can drive the interior temperatures up to 10 degrees in a house. That means you're going to end up having higher electric bills because your AC is going to be running nonstop, but the intense sun exposure can tend to wear down windows, roof materials, paint, stucco, and landscaping faster. What I've seen is that people who buy west-facing backyards end up using only half their home. So they live around the heat. They close the blinds all day, they avoid certain rooms after lunch, and that's not really how you want to live in a home. So what can you do in order to avoid this? Well, understand the orientations before you make an offer. North-south lots are gold here. They minimize direct sun hitting your main windows and your backyard, especially in the afternoon. East-facing backyards are also a good option. Consider morning light, but cooling off before the hottest part of the day. South-facing homes can work, but you'll need solid shading strategies. So desert landscaping can help, but the placement matters more than people think. A single well-placed shade tree on the west side of your home can actually do more for your energy bill than a dozen other upgrades can. Covered patios, deep roof overhangs, and pergolas, these aren't just nice to have here, they're a necessity in certain backyards. So if you're touring homes, try to schedule your visits between 3 and 6 p.m. Is there natural shade? Is the space usable without squinting or sweating? If the answer is no, you're looking at an area that might cost you some extra thousands of dollars a year in energy efficiency. And while some of these issues can be fixed by window tinting, solar screens, they all do come at a cost. So if you can buy smart from the start, orientation in Scottsdale isn't just a small detail. It's one of the biggest factors that you want to consider when buying a home. And while orientation affects comfort, the next mistake affects your wallet every single summer. So mistake number 8 is underestimating your summer utility bills and HVAC. So most people move here from more moderate parts of the country where temperatures aren't as crazy as we get in Arizona. They assume energy efficient means the same thing everywhere. So they punch in a number, maybe figuring, $150 to $200 for their utilities. The truth is, running 2 AC units in that kind of heat, especially if they're older or inefficient, can easily triple that estimate. I have seen summer electric bills in Scottsdale exceed $400 to $800 a month. And that's before you factor in things like pool pumps or outdated thermostats, single-speed pool pumps running all day, older ductwork systems that don't distribute air evenly, 2-story homes that can't cool the upstairs. These are all little inefficiencies that stack up. To make it more complicated, Scottsdale is split between 2 different electric providers. We have APS and SRP, and they each have their own billing systems. So SRP offers time of use plans, while APS hits you with hard peak demand hours between 4 and 7 p.m. And unless your home was built in the last decade, it probably doesn't have things like radiant barriers, foam sealed attics, or variable speed compressors that help keep energy usage low. A family comes from a cooler climate and moves in and budgets for $200 a month for their utilities. Then they get their first bill in July and it lands them around $580. They realize too late that their pool pump has been running for 12 hours a day, or maybe a buyer inherits a home where they have a 20-year-old AC unit and then both of them break down in the same summer. That's a whole other year of mortgage payments. So what can you do? During your inspection period, ask for the age, the tonnage, and the service history of the HVAC system. See if both compressors are variable speed. If not, factor that into your budget. Do a load calculation to make sure that the system is actually sized for the house. Some homes were built with undersized units, was done to save costs. Then you can also have your inspector check insulation values, confirm whether there's a radiant barrier in the attic, and look at the type of pool pump installed. If it's a single speed, budget to to upgrade at some point. You should also compare APS and SRP rate plans. And if your schedule allows it, switch to a time of use plan that rewards you for off-peak usage. Also, ask for the electric bills from June through September. And in Scottsdale, a good cooling strategy is a major part of your home's overall livability. So bottom line, cooling strategy is not optional. It's part of the home's value. An efficient setup makes Scottsdale summers a lot more comfortable, and a neglected one turns every month into a heat cap. So while bills can be managed once you plan for them, policies are a different story, and that is the next mistake. Mistake number 7 is not paying attention to the HOA rules, CC&Rs, and architectural review guidelines when you actually purchase a home in an HOA. Many of Scottsdale's most attractive, well-maintained communities operate under strict HOA rules. People see the beautiful streetscapes and the beautiful manicured landscaping, and they fall in love. But what they don't realize is that uniformity is being maintained by detailed guidelines. So not all HOAs are created equal. They all have different rules, fees, and enforcement styles, and they can vary dramatically between neighborhoods. You might need approval for landscaping changes, roof materials, paint colors, or even seasonal decorations in some areas. And you might not be able to park overnight in your streets. You might not be able to park RVs or work truck. There are definitely certain rental restrictions. That is a big one. And just because the city of Scottsdale might allow like a short-term rental in Scottsdale, it doesn't mean that your HOA does. There are also some hidden fees that can show up at closing. Things like capital contributions, transfer fees, maintenance assessments. Sometimes they're only paid one time, but you need to find out, will there be any future assessments before you purchase? In high-end neighborhoods like Mirabel and Silverleaf, they're known for keeping a polished look, but they do so through architectural review boards that have serious authority. Central Scottsdale and older communities, they may have a little bit more relaxed HOAs, but they might also lack consistent upkeep. And really, it's all about the community maintenance company that is taking care of the HOA at the same time too. You also might end up paying multiple associations if you live in some of the master plan communities like DC Ranch. To avoid any surprises, don't skim the HOA packet during the inspection period. Just read the CC&Rs. You can call the HOA and ask about short-term rentals, ask about the parking rules, ask about their animal policies, see if there's any recent minute meetings that you could read. And just before you make an offer, have your agent verify the dues. Now, even if you've navigated the HOA rules, there's also another layer of policy that's a little bit trickier. The city's short-term rental laws. Not paying attention to short-term rental laws is where a lot of investors and even second home buyers get burned in Scottsdale. So many out-of-state investors see that and they check the tourism calendar where we have all of the great events like Barrett-Jackson, the Phoenix Open, spring training, and they assume it's open season for Airbnb and VRBO. But what they don't realize is that Scottsdale has some of the strictest, most actively enforced short-term rental regulations in the state. And even if the city gives you the green light, your HOA may slam it on the brake. Every short-term rental property in Scottsdale must have a valid license number issued by the city, and that number has to be posted on every listing platform that you put the property on. You're also required to notify all the neighbors within 300 feet of the property and provide them with a 24/7 emergency contact. The occupancy is capped at 6 adults per bedroom with a maximum of 12 per property. And violations, they're not really small. Noise complaints, improper listings, or unlicensed operations can lead to fines of $1,000 or more and even a suspension of your rental license. But here's where it gets a little bit trickier. So many HOAs, especially in master plans and luxury communities, completely ban short-term rentals. So even if Scottsdale gives you a license, your HOA can still prohibit it. And the city will not help you with that. You have to play by both sets of the rules. Scottsdale adopted the short-term rental ordinance 4653 in 2022. North Scottsdale and Gulf communities, on the other hand, may have more restrictive HOAs and they don't allow short-term rentals at all. So I've seen investors find out the hard way. One bought a home near Old Town expecting $6,000 a month in rental income, only to get shut down after 2 noise complaints. Their city license was suspended for a full year. So if you are thinking about investing or using your home for a part-time rental income, here's what you need to do. First, verify both city and HOA rules. Never assume one covers the other. Scottsdale city zoning maps will tell you if your parcel qualifies, but your HOA documents determine whether you can actually rent short-term. Make sure to apply for your short-term rental license as soon as you close. Use noise monitoring and guest management tools like Noise Aware to stay compliant and prevent issues before they start. If you're out of state, make sure you hire a local property manager who understands Scottsdale's enforcement policies and procedures. And most importantly, underwrite conservatively. Use 50 to 60% occupancy as your projection, not peak season rates. Before you make an offer, check the zoning and licensing eligibility for the exact property and read the HOA bylaws and ask the board to confirm any rental minimums. Look at the neighbor density, how close are the homes together, and do your market research. You can use AirDNA and all the rooms so you know exactly what you're walking into. But bottom line, short-term rentals can be profitable in Scottsdale, but they're not passive. You really do need to play by both the community and the city rules, or you risk an investment that's going to become a very expensive second home. Moving on to mistake number 5 is buying a new build and assuming that just because the home is newer, it is automatically low maintenance. People moving from other parts of the country tend to equate a newer build with years of carefree living. No leaks, no repairs, minimal upkeep. But here in Scottsdale, the desert climate puts homes, new or old, under unique stress. And many of the systems that help your home thrive in our environment really do require regular attention. You won't see in an MLS listing a bullet point that talks about the foam roof that needs recoating in 2 years or a drip system that should be audited every spring. So foam and flat roofs are pretty common, especially in the modern builds. And if you skip this step, you risk roof leaks, shortened lifespan, and even voided warranties. Termites are also another factor. They're a given in Arizona. About 90% of homes get termites at some point. But even if a seller has a treatment warranty, you still want to have a thorough inspection and continue ongoing prevention. Arizona state law actually requires termite companies to warranty subterranean termites for up to 3 years. Then there's the irrigation drip systems. These are amazing. They water our plants and they conserve water, but these systems tend to clog, break, or develop invisible leaks. Recently, one of my neighbors' drip system was flooding off the side of their home into the street, and I noticed it multiple mornings as I was driving my son to school. So about the 3rd day, I stopped and knocked on their door, and they had no idea that one of their drip system had been leaking. And of course, then there's your pool. It's a huge perk in the summer, but it comes with its own set of tasks. The pump, filter, and surface, they do need regular maintenance. If your pool runs on single speed pump, it uses a lot more energy than a variable speed pump, especially under the time of use utility plans offered by APS or SRP. Scottsdale homeowners also have resources that they can reach out to, like the city's Water Smart portal and conservation guides that make maintenance easier. They'll help you track irrigation, detect leaks, and adjust your water schedules based on the season. But you still need to be proactive. So what should you do? Even if you have a brand new home, start with a roof inspection. If there's a foam or flat roof, budget for recoating it on a regular schedule. Order a termite inspection. Do a drip system audit when you move in, and again each spring. Replace any clogged or blown emitters and fix the leaks early. Use the city's checklist. If there's a pool, confirm the pump's type and age. Before you make an offer, just ask for specifics. What kind of roof is on the home and when was it last maintained? What's the termite history? And then, what is the pool equipment? When was it last replaced? And while maintenance is something you can plan for, schools and enrollment are a little bit trickier. So next we're going to tackle how to avoid the mistakes with district boundaries and Arizona's open enrollment rules. If you're moving to Scottsdale with kids or planning to, school zoning and enrollment might be more complex than you expect. One of the most common assumptions that I see is that the entire city falls under one school district. And in Scottsdale, addresses can fall into one of several school districts, actually. There's the PV, Paradise Valley District, and there's the Cave Creek District. Each has different boundaries, different open enrollment policies, and different calendars. To complicate things a little bit further, Arizona is an open enrollment state. So that means you can apply to schools outside of your assigned zone, but only if there's space and only if you apply on time. So this leads to boundary confusions. In some master plan neighborhoods, one side of the street goes to one school while the other side goes into a completely different one. And if you're hoping to enroll your child into a specific school and you miss the fall enrollment window, it can result in being waitlisted or redirected to a completely different campus. Charter schools are also a factor. High-performing options like Basis, Scottsdale, or Great Hearts Academy aren't assigned by neighborhood. They operate on a lottery system or have admission requirements, and waitlists are common in some of them, especially in the middle of the year. So if you miss your window or your lottery draw, your backup options could be limited. And when families miss those windows, many pivot to some of the private schools that we have here, which some of them are $15,000 to $30,000 a year. That's a huge line item that most people did not budget for when buying a home. Scottsdale Unified School District covers most of the central city, plus parts of Phoenix. Paradise Valley Unified covers areas in the magic zip code of 85254, and the Cave Creek Unified District serves far north communities like Troon, Desert Mountains, and Rio Verde. And these boundaries can cut through neighborhoods in surprising ways. Arizona's open enrollment system does give you options, but only if you are proactive. You have to apply early, usually in November or December for the following year, and space is not guaranteed. Acceptance depends on how full the school is by grade level, and priority typically goes to in-district students. So what's the smart move? Start with district maps. Use each school district's official site and plug into the parcel number of any home you're considering. Do not rely on online listings or third-party sites. They're frequently outdated or inaccurate. And if you're eyeing a particular school, call the registrar directly. Ask if the grade level you need has space and confirm open enrollment times. Before making an offer, double check the exact assigned schools and their capacity status. Ask your agent if any overflow conditions exist nearby or if there are any pending boundary reviews in the district. These things do shift and you don't want to be caught off guard. And while schools can dictate your weekday routine, the next mistake can quietly drain your wallet. Let's talk about mistake number 3, which is one of the sneakiest budgeting traps when buying in Scottsdale, and that is underestimating the real monthly and annual costs of owning your home. So most buyers focus on price per square foot, maybe compare property taxes, and then stop there. In Scottsdale, HOA dues, one-time fees, and layered community assessments can easily add hundreds, sometimes thousands, to your yearly carrying costs. You might see what looks like a reasonable monthly HOA, but what doesn't always get advertised are the one-time capital contributions at closing, and these sometimes are 0.25% to 0.5% of the purchase price or a flat fee. And to add to that, there might be some special assessments or temporary charges that the HOA can impose, and these costs can show up later, and they're not optional either once you actually buy into them. If you're coming from a market without master plan communities, this can be a real shock. Scottsdale is full of them, and many with not just one, but 2 associations. A sub-association for your specific neighborhood and master association that oversees shared amenities like gates, trails, or clubhouses. That means double the dues. A fitness center, golf course, or a guard gate might sound like a dream today, but those things cost more to maintain every year. As the community ages, those maintenance fees often rise. In new developments, the situation is sometimes flipped. Builders will set artificially low dues to attract buyers, and then once they exit and they turn the control over to the homeowners, the fees sometimes jump to a much higher cost. Then there are CFDs and PIDs, community facilities districts, and public improvement districts. These are long-term assessment fees tied to property taxes to cover infrastructure like roads, drainage, or parks. So what can you do to avoid this? Well, start by asking for the full HOA disclosure packet before you close. Compare the total cost to carry, not just HOA dues, but utilities, insurance, and property taxes. Lay them out side by side for every property that you're considering. Ask your agent for the resale certificate or the demand letter. These documents show any unpaid balances and signal whether any capital improvements are coming. And just budget for annual increases, especially in newer communities. Bottom line, a Scottsdale home can look affordable until you add the layers of community fees that come with resort level amenities. Understand the real monthly costs before you fall in love with the view. It's key to keeping your budget comfortable after closing on your home. Now, let's talk about the one thing almost no one thinks about when dreaming of Scottsdale: storms. The marketing is all sunshine, blue skies, dry desert air. And to be fair, Scottsdale does enjoy almost 300 days of year of sunshine. But what doesn't really get enough attention is what happens from mid-June through September, which is our Arizona monsoon season. If you're relocating from out of state, you might assume the desert has low weather risk. But desert weather does come with its own intensity, especially during monsoon season. We have sudden microbursts. We have intense dust storms called haboobs, and we get a lot of flash flooding that can happen with even modest rainfall. So microbursts are fast and powerful. Wind gusts can hit 60 to 80 miles per hour without warning, ripping off roof tiles, knocking down trees, and sending patio furniture flying. These aren't just occasional gusts, they're a seasonal pattern, and they're getting more unpredictable each year. Then you've got haboobs, massive, fast-moving dust storms that reduce visibility to zero and sweep through the entire neighborhood in minutes. One buyer that I work with had just moved in when a dust storm hit, and within 20 minutes, the entire interior of her home was covered with grit. Flash flooding is also another issue. Most residents don't expect it. Scottsdale only gets about 9 inches of rain per year, but most of that comes in sudden hyper bursts of rain. Neighborhoods near washes or foothills like those in North Scottsdale or in the McDowell Mountain Corridor are especially vulnerable. Even one strong storm can send water rushing downhill, overwhelming drainage systems and causing short-term street closures or minor property flooding. And then there's the insurance confusion. Most standard homeowners policies will cover wind damage, but not flood or storm water unless you've added those specific riders to your policy. Many buyers don't realize this and they opt out of flood insurance because they're in a low risk zone. If you're in a high-risk zone, you do need to get it. Some flood-prone zones, like those near Indian Bend Wash, they do require flood insurance as a condition of homeownership. So it's worth researching it early. So what should you do to keep your home from falling apart during our natural disasters? Well, first, trim your trees annually and remove weak or dead limbs before summer. Install surge protectors on your major appliances for any lightning or power surges that we have. Replace your air filters monthly from June to September to get the dust out of them. Check your homeowner's insurance. Do you have wind coverage, hail, flood, or storm water? If not, it's time maybe to add it. Also, before you make an offer, ask the seller for the clue report. That's their homeowner's insurance claim history. It tells you if there's a pattern of storm damage. You can also check the FEMA flood maps to see if the home that you're purchasing is in a potential flood zone. If possible, you can also walk the property after a rainstorm to see how water drains and ask your inspector to evaluate the roof, which they will do, of course, and the flashing and any yard grading. Bottom line, monsoon season isn't a deal breaker, but it's a lifestyle factor. A little preparation keeps your property safe, keeps your air clean, and keeps your power running when the storms are rolling through. And that brings us to the most overlooked issue of all, and that is to plan for summer. From June through early September, the daily highs really do climb above 105 sometimes, even reaching 115. We've had 117. And that does change everything from how your home feels to how your lifestyle functions. So a lot of buyers move thinking that their day-to-day routine is going to stay the same. Their outdoor workouts are going to be the same. Their errands and dog walks are going to be the same. But then once summer hits, they realize they can't really do a lot of the things that they thought they could do. So outdoor living really does completely flip. Instead of enjoying our outdoor patios and golfing in the middle of the day, you do those things at sunrise or after sunsets. Trails for hiking are packed at 5:30 a.m. and they're empty by 9. Pools sit unused throughout the hottest part of the afternoon because even the water can sometimes feel like bathwater. If your home faces west or has uninsulated bonus rooms, those areas can reach temperatures of to 110 degrees depending on how well they're heated and cooled. And then there's the safety factor. So asphalt temperatures soar past 160 degrees. It's far too hot for dogs' paws in certain areas, and parked cars can overheat. Kids' sports and school pickup and community events all tend to shift to accommodate the heat. So some buyers also get caught off guard by the quieter feel of summer here. Many locals head to the mountains, they travel, or they adjust their schedules, making neighborhoods feel a little bit more empty in certain months. You can add things like shade sails and dual stage AC units. You can shift your schedule to early morning workouts. Many residents also join fitness clubs or community pools to stay active indoors through the hotter months. Before making an offer, assess how the home is positioned, which rooms are going to catch the afternoon sun, what's the quality of the insulation, and how close is it to any of the shaded parks or indoor gyms, and is the community pool or clubhouse open and usable year-round. And my number one tip is take advantage of how close we are to the higher elevation areas of northern Arizona and plan short weekend trips. Bottom line, if you plan for the heat, you will love living in Scottsdale all year round. If you don't plan, the desert will plan your life for you. And understanding how to live in this climate is really important and something to think about before you burn out. And that brings us full circle because this final mistake ties everything together. Scottsdale rewards buyers who think ahead, plan realistically, and adapt to the rhythm instead of fighting it. Most of the regrets I see from people moving to Scottsdale don't come from bad homes. They come from blind spots that were unexpected. Choosing the wrong part of Scottsdale for their lifestyle or their commute. Ignoring how sun exposure shapes daily comfort. Understanding utility costs. Getting blindsided by HOA or HOA rental rules, or treating the desert maintenance like a once-a-year task. Maybe missing school enrollment windows or forgetting monsoon prep and heat adaptation are just part of life here. All of these are completely unavoidable if you know what to look for before you buy. And with that, I'm Caitlin Bronski, your Scottsdale relocation and real estate advisor. My job isn't just to help you buy a house, it's to help you buy smart so you avoid these exact mistakes and love where you live year-round. And if you're thinking about making a move, reach out using the contact info below. I'll walk you through a Scottsdale-specific due diligence checklist from orientation and energy efficiency to HOA rules and lifestyle fit so that you can make a confident, informed move that actually feels like the desert that you dreamed it to be. Living here really can feel like you're on vacation year-round as long as you prepare for it. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.